Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's all about mourners, and my mourners crew is back here, and Sabastian joining us from nobelia.org, really taking off and helping inspire individuals, groups, and you listening today, being here with us today, joining us. That's one step closer to, becoming more and gaining more and living the mourners life. How are you today, ladies and gentlemen?
Perfect.
Good.
Yes.
Great to see you guys.
Yes.
Fill me in.
We're happy. We're excited. I'm going to be going to Vegas, on Sunday for a whole week for that huge, big author conference, the biggest author conference that they have. And it's a really big deal. So it's a whole week in Vegas. So that's fun. That's something to look forward to.
Exciting.
Yes, very exciting. And also, it ties into mourners because, yes, people associate Vegas with gambling. But, if you take the gambling out and if you go to Vegas and you don't gamble, there's still a ton of stuff going on, like this conference, right? There's all sorts of conferences going on in Vegas. And in other words, there's some mourners going on, just the shows. I mean, there are dozens and dozens of really high-class, top-of-the-world shows. So there's a lot of things that happen in Vegas. Formula One is happening. So when we look a little bit past the obvious, then you see there's more, right? And that's part of mourners culture. Now, of course, with mourners, we aren't looking at it in a more material way. We're looking at it in a more spiritual way, in a more emotional way, psychological way, and anything that gives you more that you don't expect, that you don't assume, right? That's where mourners is, that extra. I mean, for instance, like we could have, let's say being a billionaire. Well, that's not an expectation that we have, but also it's still a possibility. It's within the realm of our imagination that, I could be, there's been lotteries that had winnings of over $1 billion, not many, but there've been a couple. So, all right, it's unlikely, but it's still possible.
Yeah.
Mourners is when you start to connect with that which you never thought was either likely or possible, but you get that depth and that extra. And that, the superlatives in life, this is what mourners is about, right? And just, for instance, how you feel. We typically feel relative to what's going on around us. Our feelings are responsive, yeah? But with mourners culture, you learn to choose your own feelings. Well, now you're living in an entirely different reality, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Entirely. And that's a mourners. It's a massive mourners. All right, but now I want to get to what I really want to talk to you about today. With mourners culture, you say, I don't really know where to start. What's it about? Well, let's get to the core, which is way of impeccability. Mm-hmm. And way of impeccability is exactly what the name implies. It's a way of being, a way of living, right? That's way of about impeccability, right? And how important is impeccability, Bina?
Oh, she's muted. Hold on.
Sorry. Yes, because I don't want to disturb you, but this is something very interesting because what he was saying about the mourners and coming back to the way of impeccability as a base, as a root of mourners. I always wonder that, how can we, because now I'm kind of like a bit of aware of mourners and familiar with. I cannot say that, I'm aware of mourners, I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
And this being familiar with mourners, I cannot imagine myself without this. And when he asked me, and I was like, oh yes, because now it is the whole mindset, the whole psychology of me has changed, it has shifted. So I cannot imagine even things when there is no moreness concept or understanding there. Wow. And this is like really, now another shock for me, that now I cannot imagine myself. I cannot even think of things without having the moreness concept here. So that is so brilliant of course, way of impeccability. Way of impeccability is a way of being. We assume that impeccability is a superlative. Actually not. Impeccability is the basic core character need.
Exactly.
It is not something like extra you are going to bring into your life. It's a core character need. And it is not something like, you have to do something extra.
Exactly.
Just be mindful. Being mindful is actually being impeccable.
And now let's get to that. let's get to that. Because I want to specifically say, okay, now you say, well, what exactly is impeccability, right? Mm-hmm. And somebody asked me this question, is there such a way to give a mini explanation of the word impeccableness? Yeah. Yes. Impeccability is best use of energy. That is the most core, most key, most fundamental definition of impeccability. Okay. Best use of energy. Now, when we say best is an expansive, it's a huge term, it's inclusive. Yeah, you can't just say, well, it's the best for me today. The best thing to do for me today is not necessarily best in my life overall, right? It may be the best thing for me today to binge on sweets all day or whatever, but that doesn't help me longer term, right? Yeah. So best we have to take in the short term, the intermediate, the longer term, and the overall, in terms of your spirit, you have to think of that too, right? So best use of energy. And you think of, for instance, lying. Lying has sometimes great short-term benefits, but longer term, not so good, right? They're terrible. And you watch people who deal in lies. They have to keep on lying and more lies, and their lives become exceedingly stressful. And, sometimes those things implode, and it's a cascading. It's just miserable. When you live in always looking to maintain your lies, it's very miserable, right? So longer term, not good. And this is absolutely key. And mourners culture, way of impeccability, all of it is looking at the entirety of your life. Not just your life here in this reality, but your life in potentially other realities, right? Yeah. So your best use of energy involves preparing yourself for whatever may be, you don't know. There may be nothing, but it may also be something. Let's say that for me personally, right, as I've spent my life paying attention to this, if it turns out that there's nothing after death, so what? I've still had the maximum out of this life. But I've hedged my bets. If there is something, I'm prepared for it as well.
Got it.
Either way, best use of energy, right? Either way. Cover your bets either way. If there's nothing, so what? I'm living this life to the maximum. But I'm living to the maximum in such a way that my maximum is also including being prepared for what comes. For instance, just understanding impeccability.
Yeah.
Right? Which, best use of energy, being patient. Just let's use patience as just one example, right? Being patient and having patience, that's a very good use of your energy, is it not? Because if you're impatient, it causes all sorts of stress and hassle and bother. And you never get to have things that you would otherwise get because you just don't have the patience to wait for it, right?
Yeah.
So patience is an excellent quality to have. So spending the time and energy to acquire patience gives me benefits in this life, yes? Mm-hmm. Massive benefits. But now, can you imagine any reality where patience would not be a positive quality to have?
Patience?
I had the wrong idea of patience.
Okay.
Right. I'm just saying, any reality, any spiritual reality, any world, any alternative, science fiction world, who knows what we end up with, right? When is an alternate reality after death, where we go to. Any place that you're in, patience is going to be a good quality, yeah?
Okay, if you have a precise idea of patience is, then yes. Okay. Because as a young person, when I was coming, and I was like, no, patience is just going to make you a loser, because you are just going to be like, okay, as a slow person, letting everyone do whatever they want to do. And that was the idea of patience I had in the beginning. And that was making me a kind of irritated with the patients. Like, okay, no, it is making you less ambitious. It is going to make you less progressive. It is going to make you competitive, which was a very good thing in my mind. Right. Yes. So that was the idea. You have to have a very precise idea of patience.
Right. Well, my point is positive qualities like patience, integrity, and of course impeccability, skills of awareness, discernment, understanding. Those are going to benefit you no matter where you are. But they benefit us now also. So if you pursue things that benefit you now, but abstract qualities of your character, qualities of awareness, qualities of understanding, right? Yeah. These will help you anyway. So we get the best of everything, and that's best use of energy. We're covering and hedging all of our bets. right? So when we look at this best use of energy and we think of it in the overall context, not only of this life, but any other potential lives, any other realities, now we're set. And that covering of all of our options, this is best use of energy. This is the most incredible thing to do, right? Because we benefit now and we're going to benefit in any other potential reality. This is fantastic, right? This is really, really, really potent. And the more you do this, the more you are working on your awareness, your discernment, your understanding, and your ability to apply, right? It's no good just understanding things without the ability to apply. So this is absolutely key to impeccability, is to apply things as well, right? Because that's the same thing. If you just learn things theoretically and you aren't able to apply it, then you've wasted all that energy in the theoretical study. It means nothing. It's all useless, right? Yes. Because you can't apply it. Yeah? Psychology, students of psychology, they study it intellectually, they never apply it, and they think it's going to change their lives. Psychology professors, it's almost a cliche. It's a bit of a meme, right? Psychology professors are messed up. Well, that's why they study psychology, because but they understand it in their brains, and they really can tell you all about psychology, but they don't apply it, so it doesn't mean anything, right? Got to apply it, and that's best use of energy application, right? So let's go into a few more.
Just want to ask you something, sir.
Please.
Yeah, just want to ask you something, because you mentioned about lying, that lying is stressful, it takes a lot of energy, and of course it is, because I have deliberately tried this. Really, it takes a lot of energy to remember all those details. It says that because when I was saying out of flow, then of course I don't remember all those things, and then of course it's so embarrassing. But anyway, what I have experienced that people lie, of course, with all other reasons, so many reasons for that, sometimes out of need, sometimes out of desperation and other, but mostly it is like, sometimes that they are not able to express it precisely and appropriately. They cannot express themselves precisely, so they just lie about that because this might hurt other people. That was my case also.
Yep. And I'll come to that.
Yes, that's why I'm mentioning all these things, because I used to think that, if I will say it outright, it is going to hurt other people.
Yeah.
And I was not able to say it, communicate it precisely, appropriately. That was the first reason. And the second reason was that I was feeling scared of not only hurting people, but also scared of people getting really against me.
Right.
After way of impeccability, what happened, that my communication skills gets at least much better than what it was before, that I can communicate my point of view, my perspective appropriately, so it is not going to hurt others. That was the first thing. So it is going to eliminate the need of lying in my life. And the second thing, I don't feel scared of, because even when the situation will come and people are going against me, I know that. I can understand what's coming. Exactly what is coming, what will be the implications of that. So I will construct my sentences, my perspective in a way that it is going to prevent all these things.
Right.
So we
have the awareness to deal with it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I'm mentioning that, because lying is a big, we don't want to admit that, which is another lie that we have to sometimes, with children, with our colleagues, with our family, that, they might hurt. Mostly it is out of goodness.
Yeah.
It is out of goodness, and I don't want to hurt others.
Exactly. I want to get back to the way of impeccability here, right? Because we're running out of time a bit, So, this is something we'll go into more, Bina, but I want to focus on impeccability specifically, right? So we say best use of energy, that's our most core point. But let's look at other ways that this application of best use of energy is giving due respect. Right? Bina brought this point up, this due respect. Because if you just give respect because, people demand it, gangsters, for instance, criminals, they all want to be respected. But do they deserve respect? No, it's not due respect, it's artificial respect. So we have to give due respect. And when we do, we treat things appropriately, right? Very simple. And when you treat things appropriately, you're using your energy to best effect. Very simple, right? Uncompromising self-honesty. If you lie to yourself, you're a goner. You're lost, right? And this is something you can just look at people around you and see, they're lying to themselves. And you see how much trouble it causes them. Is that a good use of the energy? Absolutely not, right? It causes trouble like, Jill, you've seen this. You know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Impeccability is living with true integrity. True integrity. Not just a surface, not just apparent, no, true integrity. Which means that you know where you're at and you don't compromise on your goodness, for instance, on your sensibility, on your sobriety. Because you have tools with which to figure things out, right? And I'll get to the tools in a moment. I'm just talking about impeccability itself now, right? We'll get to a way of impeccability which gives you the tools. Impeccability is making sure non-use of energy is not going to be a problem, non-action. Yeah? We think, well, I'm doing the right things, but, well, I'm also not doing certain things. You know that this putting off, and, a lot of people, I'm not doing it, I kind of know I should. And
shouldn't,
yeah, but that's it. We have to be very careful of should also, right? It should according to you, your own conscience, not should according to society, because that will get you into a mess in a hurry, right?
Trouble, yeah.
But again, we have to be sure that we are taking appropriate action. And mostly this comes from when people are dealing with, I know I should be taking care of my spiritual stuff. I should be looking at those deep questions. And later. Later never comes. Right?
Nope.
So, do it now. Do it now. Impeccability is doing more than enough to be sure we're covered.
Oh, my goodness, that's right. Well, we need to remind everyone, hold on, nobelia.org, our friend Sil, our friends, you're joining us. Go to nobelia.org for more. Continue.
Yes, right. So impeccability is doing more than enough to be sure we're covered, right? And what do I mean by covered? Which means covered in the sense that when I make a decision, that I've done everything I can to make that decision. And therefore, I can have no regrets because I knew I did everything I possibly could to make that decision, right? Which is coming to the next point, which is impeccability is being thorough, diligent, scrupulous, conscientious, etc. Right? Doing all your due diligence, doing all your research. So when you make your decision, you say, I've done everything that I can, there's no more I can do. And I make my decision. And then how can you regret that?
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah, if you've made a decision under those conditions, there's no possible way to regret it, no matter how it turns out, right? No way. Making sure one is unblameable, unfaultable by one's own conscience. This is crucial. This is where the previous two come into it. When you've done everything you possibly can do, right, and then you do it, then you have to just trust. And the way it works out is the way it works out. There's nothing more you could have done. So you can't, it may not go the way you want to, but that doesn't mean you to blame. No, well, it didn't work out. Circumstances, life, whatever. The universe, okay, so be it. But you see what I mean? And you don't feel bad about it. You have no regrets. Right? It didn't work out, okay. But you know what I have discovered? That when you're impeccable and you make decisions and things go the way you don't expect them to go, and sometimes it's a great big mess, pay attention, because almost always, if you've been impeccable, those turn out to be fortuitous mistakes. And you say, oh my goodness, well, the world has ended. I was impeccable in my job and I got fired anyway. What the hell? And you're all mad. And you say, but wait. And then you suddenly realize what a gift this was. What a gift this was, right? And you learn to see the moreness in the unforeseen. And when you pay attention in that way, your world explodes and you live in an entirely different universe, right? So impeccability, always you're okay. Yeah? Impeccability is acting so we cannot have any regrets. This is a big deal, regrets, right? It really is. It's a horrible thing when people they come to the end of their lives and they have regrets. It's horrible, right? Impeccability is doing what's right according to our own conscience, acting in accordance with our conscience, not anybody else's, but our own, right? That's very, very key, and very, very key. Yeah? Acting in accordance with our own conscience. Now, your conscience can evolve and can develop, and that's part of wave impeccability, is learning and being more, because that's the best use of your energy. Look at all the nonsense in the world. You can take every bad action, every evil action, and you trace it back to the root of it. Where does it start? It starts in unawareness. Every single time starts in unawareness. If they knew better, they wouldn't do it, right? So, best use of energy says, if I don't want to do things inadvertently be stupid and foolish and bad and evil, well, then, I need to raise my awareness. At this point, not necessarily evil, but people causing harm through good actions. Look up the history, go and research large charity organizations that have caused great big messes, but the intent was to do good, right? They tried to do good, and they created chaos and havoc. And sadly, many of those people that were involved in those big charity organizations ended up committing suicide. Their lives were completely devastated. I mean, depression, etc. It caused a massive problem, but it made people realize that what you think is good and what actually is good, two different things. So we need to have not just awareness, but discernment as well. We need to understand. So ADU, right? So this is a very powerful usage of your energy, is to learn to be more aware, more discerning, more understanding, and to be able to apply. Right? Impeccability is applying all necessary effort required. This is where the application comes in. You must be able to do the necessary effort that's required. Right? And this doesn't necessarily mean the necessary effort in a physical sense. Sometimes yes, but psychologically, emotionally, the necessary effort. Well, if you have to, do something that's maybe not pleasant, but it's necessary, you got to do it. That's it, right? I mean, necessary effort. Mothers all are familiar with necessary effort. What is the necessary effort when your kids come in and they've fallen down and they've skinned their knees and they got gravel in the knees? What's the necessary effort?
Gotta go.
Stand still, you clean it out. Ow, shut up. I got to clean it.
Scream.
And you clean it, right? That's it. You just got to suck it up and you got to clean it. Now, is it pleasant for the mother to do that? No, but it's necessary effort. Because the mother knows if they don't clean that wound, then you're going to have a bigger problem, right?
Yeah.
So they all do it, and this is positive ruthlessness, right? This is a great quality mothers and nurses possess, right? We only see the negative side of ruthlessness, but there's positive ruthlessness as well, which is doing the necessary effort required without being put out by pettiness and triviality and oversensitivity and stuff like that, right? So necessary effort, very important. And we get to capital T, trusting, nobilia trusting impeccably. When we've done all this, that things will turn out good. So when you've done all this, when you've been thorough, you've been diligent, you've been scrupulous, you've been conscientious, you paid attention to your integrity, you've made all the necessary effort, etc., you're going to trust. Part of impeccability is trusting that things will turn out good. That's what I was saying. When you absolutely have been impeccable and you trust that things will turn out good, you start to look at the world differently, and then you see how they do turn out good, right? Thus, acting and behaving and doing all we can, so doubt will never be an issue.
Got it.
So when you start living impeccably, doubt is not an issue, right? Yes, you may still be in a bubble and you still are limited in your awareness, but you always see how your mistakes lead you to more. Your mistakes lead you to more, and you keep on that path. It's the most incredible thing. So the original questioner responded after I said this to them. They said, sort of unimpeachable. And the reply was, in a way, yes, exactly. Unimpeachable by our own conscience, yes.
Got it.
So impeccability is to be unimpeachable by your own conscience. And conscience demands impeccability. Right? Little quote there, conscience demand. The enemies of awareness: fear, sadness, anger, self-importance, clarity, power, and assumption. These were quotes that I put in the wrong place, but okay. I want to just really quickly jump in the screen share. I want to just share. Sure. We'll talk about this next week, right, Bina? The connection between impeccability and way of impeccability, right?
Yes.
And we'll see. I'm just going to touch on it very briefly. So Bina talked about expressing herself. So these are all the modules for way of impeccability.
Yep.
This is module 1 right here.
We've talked about
clarity of intent and focus of purpose. Now, we've spoken about clarity of intent before, right? It's very important to know what you're doing. And then the specific practices, that just goes over what we're going to do. But let's get to Bina's point. In this module, the philosophy of takeaway. And this leads to expression, because in way of impeccability, you are going to provide takeaways on the modules, which is you now expressing. Well, there's two things that you're going to do. You're going to repeat back, which is part of this, and a takeaway, which is you expressing how you understood it, how you comprehended it. The takeaway is you saying what was valuable to me. What am I going to take away and put inside me and carry with me that I'm going to use and apply? Like my phone, right? You take away your phone with you every day when you go out, right? Your phone, you can't leave
Forget
behind.
it. It's like,
available
panic
to you.
attack. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. But we psychologically and emotionally, there are many things. Spiritually, same thing. So in the philosophy of takeaway, in expressing those takeaways, you learn to express yourself. And you learn discernment. You learn this vocabulary, which is the language of conceptuality. And this is massively changing, right? And then we get to the very next one here, redefining self-conception, which you spoke about last week. Yeah, how important self-conception is. And when you tie self-conception to takeaway, you get language, how you use your language, the finer points, right? And then we get I'm just going to do these first few here, insisting on extracting them more. Right,
yeah.
Which we get to moreness. Now there's more. I'm going to do this. We will go over all of this next week. Yeah?
Perfect. Thank you.
We'll go over all of this. By impeccable next week. Bina, closing words.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing all these things. And yes, expression is something. An ability to express yourself appropriately cause a lot of things. And we get into the should mindset. Oh, I must do this. And also that it's a superiority thing that I need to take care of other people's feeling. I'm not responsible for that. It is a positive ruthlessness. Again, coming back to the same point. I'm not only responsible that, okay, I'm not responsible, but also that I'm not able to. I cannot take care of everything. This is the idea that I'm going to just take care of the whole world around me. It is impossible.
Right.
We cannot do this. And also that it is coming back to the bigger good, which is Sil was mentioning that the way universe works. Sometimes we assume that, it's so horrible what happened. But universe has a bigger scheme, and it always turned out in a positive, good way for the larger people, of course, in a larger good. And this is how the way of impeccability also completely aligned with the universe's law.
Yep. Well,
thank you so much, Sil, for sharing. Yes.
Nobilia.org. Check them out.
Thank you, Till. Thank you.
Thank you, Sil. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.